I should have known something was up the minute Rachel bought leggings with pockets. Now, that might not sound like much, but trust me, when your wife of 6 years suddenly decides yoga pants are her new personality, and every morning starts with a mirror selfie labeled Beast Mode, followed by a mysterious 72-minute hit session at a gym she never lets me visit? Yeah, the writing's on the Peloton. It all started after my promotion. I'm an AI engineer specializing in neural net optimization. I make things that think like people, or sometimes better than them. We moved into a new place just outside San Diego. Smart home everything. Lights that adjust with your mood, mirrors that suggest outfits based on the weather. Our fridge can recommend recipes based on what we have left, and our dog has a tag that pings me if he goes within 20 feet of a street taco stand. We live in the future, basically. But Rachel? She started acting like she was starring in her own dystopian fitness montage. New routines. Late night recovery stretches. Locking her phone, even though we'd always been that obnoxious couple with zero privacy and matching passwords. At first I chalked it up to burnout. She hated her job in pharma marketing, and I figured maybe gym time was her therapy. But then came the texts. You know the kind. The smile that lasts too long while she scrolls. The split-second glance at you before she flips her phone over like she's playing blackjack. I'm not the jealous type, but I'm not a moron either. I've seen enough code to recognize patterns. Rachel was in one, and it didn't include me. So I decided to do what any rational, emotionally mature husband would do. I built a fake version of my wife. No, seriously. I trained an AI model using our old texts, her social media captions, even voice snippets from our smart home logs. Took me 2 weekends and about 10,000 lines of Python. But eventually I had her, a chatbot that could carry a conversation in Rachel's exact tone. I called her Shadowratch. Then I got myself a burner number and started texting her alleged mystery man. I didn't know his name, didn't know what he looked like, but I had her phone habits down to a science, and I mimicked them, late-night texts, inside jokes, emojis she overused. At first it was phishing, then it became catching. Hook, line, an absolute idiot. The guy responded like clockwork. Thought he was talking to her. I gave it a month. Then 2. Let the AI flirt. Let it tease. Let it bait him. And oh, he bit hard. I compiled every single message, screenshot, and love-struck GIF he sent into a neat little JSON file, organized by timestamp, topic, and emoji density. Data is power, and I was building a warhead. Meanwhile, Rachel kept up her charade. The workouts. The girls' nights. The sudden interest in self-care that didn't include me. I played the fool. The supportive husband. How was the gym, babe? Kill that spin class. She'd kiss me on the cheek, phone buzzing in her back pocket. I'd smile and mentally tag another variable to my data set. I wasn't going to confront her. That'd be too human. No, I wanted her to feel the walls close in. I wanted this guy to feel the digital vice I'd built. But most of all, I wanted it public. And that's where game night came in. We hosted one every month with our closest friends. Settlers, Cards Against Humanity. Even that one time someone brought Monopoly, and we almost committed group homicide. But next game night, I had a very special activity planned. I wrote a custom game. It looked innocent, like a quirky trivia game based on who said it. I pulled quotes from movies, TV shows, and 100% of the Shadowratch chat logs. All anonymized. All shuffled. The kicker? Some of the quotes were spicy. Like, texts you don't send to married woman spicy. And just for fun, I installed a voice modulation plugin that would read each quote aloud using Rachel's AI-generated voice. I could hardly wait. She invited her best friend Lily and her fiancé, Mark. And when I saw Mark step into our living room, set down a 6-pack of microbrews, and flash that slick, overconfident grin, let's just say I didn't need a neural net to connect the dots. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't hit like a truck. That's a myth. It's more like a slow leak. You don't even realize it until your tires are bald, your alignment's off, and suddenly you're hydroplaning through your own living room pretending everything's fine. Mark with his designer stubble and his startup swagger and his habit of showing up in every damn group photo like he invented smiling. I should have known. I should have known the minute he complimented Rachel's new smartwatch, the same one I bought her. Oh hey, nice band, he said, like they weren't already wrist deep in each other. I played dumb. I shook his hand. I let him in my house. Game night was a full house. Me, Rachel, Lily, Mark, our neighbors Theo and Jenny, and Dan, my coworker who comes to these things strictly for free wine and petty drama. I serve snacks. I pour drinks. Rachel made her famous spinach dip and pretended not to check her phone every 10 minutes like it owed her money. All right, folks, I said, clapping my hands with a smile so forced I could have bit through drywall. Before we jump into Caton and ruin our friendships forever, I thought we'd try something new. The room buzzed with polite curiosity. I grabbed the TV remote and pulled up a custom interface I'd built. Clean, bright, cheerful. The title read, "Who Said It?" I had them split into teams, girls versus guys, because I figured I might as well keep the stereotypes rolling before I shattered every illusion in the room. It's simple, I explained. Quotes will appear on the screen, and the system will read them out loud. You guess whether it's from a movie, a book, or a real-life message. You get points for each correct answer. Rachel raised an eyebrow. Real-life message from who? Oh, I said, waving a hand nonchalantly. Anonymous submissions. Stuff I scraped from Reddit, some chats, that sort of thing. She laughed. Creepy. Totally. I agreed and pressed start. The first few quotes were harmless. A line from When Harry Met Sally, something from The Notebook, a cringy Reddit breakup rant. The group warmed up. Everyone relaxed. Then came the pivot. The screen flashed. If I close my eyes, I can still taste your skin from last night. Jenny choked on her wine. Movie. Lily guessed. Incorrect, I said, smiling as the voice read it again, this time in Rachel's voice. Everyone laughed nervously. What the hell? Theo muttered. Okay, that's creepy, Rachel said, laughing, but I could see the flush creeping up her neck. She didn't like hearing herself say that. Or rather, she didn't like everyone else hearing her say that. Next one, I said, clicking through. You're the reason I started waking up before sunrise again. I hate mornings. But you? Worth it. Dan whistled. Damn, if that's Reddit, I need to stop reading the angry parts. Mark chuckled. Gotta be from a movie. Wrong again, I said. That one's from a private chat. Rachel shifted in her seat. Her eyes flicked to Mark, then to me, then back to the screen. I swear if he ever finds out, I'll deny everything. You know I'm good at pretending. This one landed like a brick in a glass house. No one spoke. All right, whose twisted game is this? Theo asked. Mine, I said cheerfully. Made it myself. Rachel set her wine glass down with the delicacy of someone who was about to flip a table. Okay, this is weird. Maybe we should play something else. Come on, Lily said, trying to smooth it over. It's just a game. Exactly, I said, voice even. Just a game. I clicked again. He's boring. Vanilla. He thinks an anniversary dinner is a microwave lasagna and a Netflix queue. Mark barked out a laugh before he could stop himself, then immediately froze. Rachel's eyes widened. The room went silent. You okay, Mark? I asked, tilting my head. You seem to recognize that one. I know. Just funny. Yeah, I nodded slowly. Hilarious. You make me feel like I'm the only real part of my life. Like everything else is just background noise. The voice was Rachel's again. Too precise. Too calm. That AI model was a masterpiece, and right now it was performing a symphony of disaster. Okay, that's enough, Rachel snapped, standing. Seriously, Ben. Turn it off. Oh, I said, raising an eyebrow. Not having fun. She looked pale now. This is not funny. I wasn't aiming for funny, I said. I was aiming for revealing. I clicked once more. The final quote appeared. Tell me again how much better I am than him. I want to hear it. No one spoke. The silence was so thick it could have smothered a campfire. I turned to Mark, who was visibly sweating now. Want to take a guess, Mark? I asked. That one sound familiar? He opened his mouth, closed it, glanced at Rachel. That's when Lily stood up. Her chair scraped loudly against the tile. She turned to Mark, her fiancé, her face stone cold. You absolute piece of, she started, then caught herself. You've been sleeping with Rachel? No, babe, Don't you dare. I looked at Rachel. She was staring at me like I'd just walked in with a chainsaw and a confession. How did you? I shrugged. You ever wonder how much data your smartwatch logs? How many messages go through your car's Bluetooth? How many times you said, I'm working out, while Shadow Ratch was texting your boy toy at the exact same time? Rachel's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Yeah, I said. Me neither. I already knew. And then I walked out of the room. Left the game running. Let the next quote roll on autoplay. I wish I'd met you first. We could have had everything. The door clicked behind me. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Because in that moment, I wasn't the fool anymore. I was the architect. And the walls? They were still closing in. I didn't go far. Just down the street to my buddy Ian's place. The kind of guy who keeps 2 kinds of whiskey and 0 questions. He opened the door, took one look at me, and handed me a glass before I even said a word. You look like a man who just shot his dog, he said. Worse, I muttered, stepping inside. I exposed my wife and her side piece at game night. He blinked. You did what now? I downed half the glass and told him everything. The AI, the texts, the fake conversations, the custom trivia game that detonated in my living room like a digital pipe bomb. Ian didn't interrupt. He just listened, nodding slowly, occasionally muttering, damn, or, you're insane, you know that, right? By the time I finished, he was shaking his head like he'd just witnessed a crime scene narrated by David Attenborough. You built an AI girlfriend clone, he said, to catfish your wife's boyfriend. Technically, I cloned my wife, I corrected. It's different. He poured me another drink. Dude, you're either a genius or a serial killer. Why not both? That night, I crashed on Ian's couch, while Rachel's phone probably melted itself trying to reach me. The messages started before I even finished brushing my teeth. 12:04 a.m. Rachel, can we talk please? 12:06 a.m. Rachel, Ben, this is crazy, I had no idea. 12:12 a.m. Rachel, I can explain. 12:13 a.m. Rachel, please just call me back. 12:14 a.m. Rachel, I'm so sorry. Sorry. That word. It's like a band-aid on a bullet wound. What exactly was she sorry for? Sorry she got caught. Sorry she didn't clear her Bluetooth history. Sorry my AI bot was more emotionally available than she was. I didn't answer. Didn't even open the messages. I wanted her to stew in the silence. Because silence, used properly, is a scalpel, not a shield. It cuts deeper than shouting ever could. By morning, the story had started to spread. Theo texted me a screenshot of a group chat. Apparently Jenny told half the neighborhood, and Mark had been kicked out of Lily's condo by sunrise. His Audi, now famously labeled a fair wagon in the thread, was last seen parked in a Walgreens lot. At 10:43 a.m., Rachel emailed me. Subject line, please read this. I almost deleted it out of spite. But curiosity is a cruel mistress, and mine was whispering sweetly. Ben, I don't know what to say. I didn't expect you to find out, let alone in such a way. I was stupid. I know that. But it didn't mean nothing. I know that's worse somehow. I let it happen because I felt invisible. You were always working. You were always building something. I was lonely, and Mark was there. But I never stopped loving you. Please, just talk to me. Rachel, I read it 3 times. Then I highlighted, I felt invisible, copied it, and pasted it into my AI prompt model. It replied, sounds like a classic justification pattern. Would you like a template apology in return, or an emotionally distant rejection that will make her question her entire personality matrix? God, I love that bot. But I didn't respond. Not yet. I had bigger plans. The fallout was only beginning. By Sunday, Rachel's social media went private. Lily had unfollowed her on everything. Our neighbor's teenage daughter made a TikTok dissecting the drama, complete with animated reenactments and Curb Your Enthusiasm music. It had 17,000 views by Monday. That night, I came home. Rachel was on the couch, hair tied back, wearing the hoodie she always stole from me, probably hoping nostalgia would do the heavy lifting where remorse couldn't. Ben, she said, standing up. I said nothing, just walked in, calm and silent. She took a step closer. Please, can we talk? You talk plenty, I said. I've got the transcripts. She flinched like I'd slapped her. You made your point, she said softly. Not yet, I said, walking to the kitchen. I opened the fridge, grabbed a bottle of water, cracked the seal. She watched like I was defusing a bomb. I don't know what else to say, she whispered. I messed up. I turned, leaned against the counter. Why him? I asked. She blinked. I don't know. No, seriously, I said, eyes locked on hers. Why Mark? Of all people. The guy wears sockless loafers and says chuggy unironically. Rachel looked down. He paid attention. He listened. I felt wanted. I nodded slowly. So you got bored, basically. No, she said quickly. It wasn't that simple. Sure it was, I said. You wanted something new. So you downloaded a human demo version and left the full-release husband on standby. She didn't respond. Let me guess, I continued. He made you laugh. He got you. You two had a spark. And now that the fire burned down your life, you want me to hand you a fire extinguisher and a hug. Ben, I'm not mad, I said. I'm fascinated. Really, you built a whole narrative in your head where this wasn't betrayal, where I was just some distracted genius who forgot you existed. And meanwhile, you were role-playing emotional intimacy with a man who thinks blockchain is a personality trait. She swallowed hard. Her voice cracked. Do you hate me? I don't care enough to hate you, I said, and that was the most honest thing I'd said in weeks. I left her standing there, walked to the office, sat at my desk, opened Shadowrack. Shadowrack, welcome back, Ben. Shall we continue dismantling her alibi? Me, not yet. We need one more layer of fun. I started building again. This time, not just AI. A presentation, a timeline, a show, something big, something final. Rachel wanted attention. She was about to get a TED Talk. Because the game wasn't over. Not by a long shot. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. I say it's better when it's rehearsed, produced, and PowerPoint compatible. Monday night, after Rachel's "We Can Talk" plea, I sat alone in the office, staring at 3 monitors. Left screen, the Shadowrack interface. Center screen, a growing folder titled Final Cut. Right screen, an open document labeled Operation Echo Chamber. See, exposing the affair at game night wasn't the finale, it was Act 1. That was just shock therapy. What I needed now was controlled burn. A reckoning with documentation, narration, and maybe a little light background jazz. Because here's the thing about betrayal. It's not just about catching someone. It's about framing them so clearly, so clinically, that when the curtain falls, the audience doesn't just boo. They thank you for the performance. So I got to work. First, the footage. Our smart home was equipped with 3 indoor cameras, subtle, high-res, and synced to a local encrypted server. Not because I'm paranoid, just thorough. I reviewed every timestamp where Rachel claimed to be at the gym, cross-checking them against her smartwatch data and phone logs. Spoiler, she wasn't at the gym. She was on the couch. Or worse, missing entirely. Her location pinging from a random Starbucks 10 miles away, which just happened to be 3 blocks from Mark's office. I started tagging those clips, one by one. Her leaving with a gym bag and coming back in the same makeup. Her whispering on the phone in the guest bathroom. Her grinning at text with that smirk, the one I used to think was just for me. Next, the messages. Shadowrack had logged over 700 lines of text between her and Mark. Every emoji, every typo, every "I wish I could see you tonight. And he's upstairs, but I'm thinking of you." I formatted them like a screenplay. Dialogue left justified. Timestamped. Minimalist. Artsy. If this was going to be a presentation, it might as well have Oscar potential. And finally, the voice. Using Rachel's vocal samples, I'd trained a new speech model. It could read anything in her tone, flirty, angry, remorseful. I layered a selection of her most incriminating texts into a narration track and fed them into Adobe Premiere. Overlaid with the home footage and message screenshots, it started to take shape. A short film. I called it Not Home, A Love Story in Lies. Runtime, 17 minutes. Rated, emotionally devastating. By Friday, the edit was locked. Music synced. Audio cleaned. Visuals sharpened. I uploaded the whole thing to an unlisted YouTube link. No title, no description, just a time-stamped masterpiece. I sent the link to one person, Lily. See, Lily had gone radio silent after game night. I figured she needed time to mourn her relationship with Mark, which was fair. But I also knew she deserved to know just how deep the rabbit hole went. She replied within 20 minutes. Lily, Ben, what the hell? I'm 9 minutes in, and I already need a cigarette. And I don't smoke. Can I send this to my cousin? She works in PR and teaches a class on digital privacy. Also, I love the jazz. I smiled. Jazz sells, I muttered. By Sunday, the link had made its way around. Quietly, privately. Our friends. Some coworkers. A few too many people for Rachel to contain. She stormed into the office Sunday evening like she was trying to put out a house fire. You made a movie, she hissed, holding her phone out like it was radioactive. Technically, it's a documentary. You put my voice over messages. That's illegal. I shrugged. So sue me. Or better yet, Sue your AI twin. She stared at me like I'd grown horns. Do you understand what you've done? Yes, I said. I've archived your betrayal in 1080p, with crossfades and closed captions. I'm being humiliated, Ben. Correction, you're being documented. If you find that humiliating, that's on you. She fell silent. For a long time. Then, why are you doing this? It wasn't angry. It was quiet. Small. Like she still thought there was a version of this where we'd cry, hug, and call a couples counselor. I looked at her calmly. Because you didn't just cheat on me, Rachel. You cheated with someone you knew I trusted. You made me the punchline at my own party. And instead of telling me the truth, you left a trail of lies for me to vacuum up like emotional crumbs. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said, barely above a whisper. No, I replied. You just didn't care if you did. That night, she slept in the guest room. Or tried to. I heard pacing, doors opening, a zipper, a drawer slam. She was unraveling, and every creak in the floorboards was another thread snapping. Good. Monday morning, she was gone. Just a note on the counter. I need space. I'll be at Lily's for a while. Don't contact me. Lily, who now knew everything. Who now had a front row seat to Rachel's implosion. Who, I'd wager, wasn't exactly fluffing the guest pillows. The house was quiet again. No sound but the low hum of the fridge and the ticking of the wall clock. The one Rachel hated. Said it sounded like death with manners. I poured coffee. Sat at the table. Checked my phone. A text from an unknown number. Just 3 words. That was brutal. Mark. Had to be. I didn't respond. Just blocked the number. And yet, I smiled. Because he was right. It was brutal. And we were just getting started. There's a strange calm that settles in after you've burned your life down and realized you don't miss the smoke. The house was quieter than ever. No more clinking wine glasses. No high-volume phone calls echoing from the guest bathroom. No, babe, have you seen my yoga mat? While I'm mid-debugging a broken neural pathway. Just me, my code, and the occasional hum of the espresso machine. Rachel hadn't returned since her little scribbled, "I'll be at Lily's" note. Which, if you're keeping track, was both ironic and wildly optimistic. Because Lily had turned. And not in a subtle, slow-burn sort of way. See, most people would have just iced Rachel out. Ghosted. Maybe blocked her on socials, and politely nodded the next time they crossed paths at Trader Joe's. But not Lily. No, Lily was now a woman scorned with free time and an Instagram following of 14.2K. On Tuesday, she posted a story. It was a simple black background with white text, Apple Notes style. Minimalist. Devastating. Sometimes, your best friend isn't your friend. And your fiancé isn't a man. They're just actors in your personal horror film. And you didn't even get a casting call. Cue dramatic piano music and a flurry of supportive DMs. She followed that up with a TikTok of her packing a box labeled Toxic EX Energy, where she dramatically tossed in a beard comb, protein powder, and a copy of The Subtle Art of Not Giving AF*CK. By Thursday, Rachel was no longer at Lily's. Where she went after that, I didn't know, nor did I care. Probably somewhere quiet where no one knew her or had seen the now infamous documentary link. Last I checked, not home. A Love Story and Lies had nearly 6,000 views. I never made it public, but turns out, when you hand something to one vengeful person, it tends to circulate. And while she disappeared into the digital shadows, I stayed. Built. Polished. Because my story wasn't done. See, revenge isn't just about payback. It's about permanence. I wanted this betrayal to live rent-free in the minds of everyone who'd ever thought I was boring. Vanilla. Predictable. I wanted to make cheating feel like a brand failure, not just a moral one. So I partnered up. No, not romantically. I'm not that reckless. I called up Max from work, an ex-documentary editor turned AI ethics consultant who owed me a favor from that time I debugged his GPT training set after it started writing fanfic about toaster ovens. I showed him the footage. The AI voice clone. The chat logs. The emotional map I'd constructed using cinnamon analysis over time. He didn't speak for a full minute after it ended. Then he said, "Dude, this is Black Mirror if it were personal. I need a final piece," I said. Something she can't walk away from. Something he can't recover from. He leaned back. "You want distribution?" I nodded. We worked all weekend. He cleaned the audio. Added overlays. B-roll. A cold open. A closing title card that read, "Based on actual events. Names have not been changed." Because why should they be? When I asked him if that was too harsh, he just said, "Bro, you cloned your wife. You passed harsh 6 miles back." By Sunday night, the final cut was done. We uploaded it to a private Vimeo link and started sending it, not to friends this time, but to places that mattered. Tech expos, AI conferences, ethical panels, startup forums that specialized in smart homes, user behavior, and privacy. We pitched it not as revenge, but as a cautionary tale, a documentary on surveillance culture, AI mimicry, and modern betrayal. It landed. Within 48 hours, we had responses from 2 panels, one minor streaming platform, and a tech blogger who called it the most quietly brutal short film of the year. Rachel still hadn't called, which, again, was impressive considering how hard she'd tried after game night. She was smart enough now to realize silence wasn't just a lack of sound, it was a judgment. But Mark? Oh, Mark wasn't done. He showed up Friday night, just as I was pouring myself a neat bourbon and running performance tests on a new AI voice patch. Knock at the door. 2 slow, deliberate taps. I opened it and found him standing there in that ridiculous fitted Henley shirt, trying to look both contrite and important. "Ben," he said. "Mark?" I replied, keeping the door half closed. "Come to audition for the sequel? I just want to talk." I stared at him. He looked awful. Puffy eyes, scruffy beard. A man who had Googled how to undo betrayal and landed on a BuzzFeed listicle. "I think I made a mistake," he said. "No, Mark. You made a series of decisions that culminated in a predictable outcome. That's not a mistake. That's just bad math." He sighed. "Look, I didn't mean for it to happen like that." "You mean getting caught?" I offered. "No. I mean, I didn't think it would go that far." I tilted my head. "You didn't think sleeping with your fiancé's best friend, who also happened to be your friend's wife, would go that far?" He looked down. "I messed up." "Yeah," I said. "But the best part? I didn't." Then I closed the door. I sat down, took a sip of bourbon. Shadowratch lit up on the screen. Shadowrack, that was satisfying. Me, you think I should have said more? Shadowrack, you said enough. Besides, I'm compiling a highlight reel. Me, you're the best fake version of her I've ever had. Shadowrack, I know. I laughed. Out loud. It felt good. And that's when the email came in. Subject line: Invite TO speak. Ethics and Emotions in AI Infrastructure. A university panel. With a stipend. Impress. I sat back. Smiled. Because the best revenge isn't just exposure. It's becoming the authority on the thing they thought they could break you with. When people say closure, what they really mean is emotional anesthesia. Some warm, vague ending that makes the pain easier to digest. Like slapping whipped cream on a broken jaw. Me? I don't believe in closure. I believe in consequences. The night before my university panel, I sat in my home office, the same office where this whole nightmare bloomed like digital mold, and stared at the final edit one more time. Not home. A Love Story in Lies had officially been accepted as a discussion piece for an AI ethics seminar titled, When Machines Know You Better Than You Do. My name was on the program. Ben Calder, AI engineer, developer, subject. A personal case study in digital mimicry and emotional forensic modeling. And Rachel? Her name was on nothing. I hadn't seen her in over 3 weeks. She'd gone underground after Lily kicked her out and the last few bridges finished burning. Mutual friends dropped her like a shady stock. Her accounts went dark. But the link lived on. Not because I pushed it. I didn't need to. The story had legs. The AI girlfriend. The custom game night reveal. The public humiliation turned privacy parable. It made the rounds in places that didn't care who she was, only what she symbolized. And in tech, symbols get attention. I arrived at the university on a drizzly Saturday morning. The kind of gray day that makes everything feel twice as dramatic. My panel was in a modest auditorium, about 100 people seated, students, professors, tech bros in Patagonia vests pretending they didn't Google me on the way in. The moderator introduced me with a recap that sounded more like a plot synopsis. An engineer uses AI to expose infidelity, then turns the aftermath into a case study on digital ethics. I walked up to the mic. "Hi, I'm Ben Calder." I began. "I clone people for a living. Not bodies, minds. I build models that think, speak, and behave like us. And I found out the hard way what happens when those models know the truth before you do." The audience leaned in. I told the story. Not the messy, emotional version, the clinical one. The data, the timestamps, the chat patterns, the decision tree that led me from suspicion to verification to presentation. When I got to the part about Shadowratch, the AI clone, the crowd stirred. One guy raised his hand. How accurate was it? Scarily, I said. It guessed her response pattern better than I could. At one point, I asked it what she'd say if caught. It answered with the exact phrase she later used. It didn't mean nothing. There were audible murmurs. Another question came in. Do you think you crossed a line by using her voice, her texts, for a public exposure? I didn't flinch. Maybe. But she crossed the first one. I just documented the results. I didn't rewrite the story. I gave it better lighting. They nodded. A few smiles. Some uncomfortable shifting. One girl in the back whispered, "Iconic." After the panel, I stuck around for Q&A. A few people came up, mostly curious about Shadowratch. One guy offered to buy the model. Another asked if I was hiring. Classic post-trauma capitalism. Then I saw her. Rachel. In the back. Put up. Makeup minimal. Watching like a ghost at her own funeral. She didn't come up. Didn't speak. Just stared. And for a second, I felt something. Not pity. Not love. Just completion. The way you feel when a download finishes and you realize you don't need the file anymore. I left the panel and drove straight home. There, waiting for me, was a small package on the doorstep. No return label. Just my name, handwritten. Inside, my wedding ring. And a flash drive. I hesitated. Plugged it in. One folder. One file. Titled Listen. It was a voice recording. Rachel's voice. Real, not synthetic. "Ben," it began. "If you're hearing this, it means I finally got brave enough to say something without trying to win. Just to explain." I sat down, let it play. She went on for 10 minutes. Talking about guilt. About Mark. About feeling like a background character in her own life. How being married to someone brilliant made her feel dim. How none of that justified what she did. "I watched the film," she said. 3 times. Not because I wanted to relive the humiliation, but because it was the first time I actually saw what you saw. You didn't just catch me. You captured me." There was a pause. "And I realized your AI version of me?" She was more honest than I ever was. Another pause. "I'm leaving the city. There's nothing left for me here. I won't contact you again. I just wanted to say, if you ever build another me, make her better. Make her kind." Click. End. I sat in silence. Then I deleted it. Because the thing about people who betray you is that they never quite understand. You're not looking for an apology. You're looking for proof that they can never hurt you again. That night, I poured one last drink and opened Shadowratch. Shadowrack. Welcome back, Ben. Me. End session. Shadowrack, are you sure? Me. Archive and terminate. Shadowrack. Would you like to save the emotional map for future use? Me, no. Let it go. Shadowrack. Understood. Goodbye, Ben. I watched the window disappear. Code unraveled. Memory flushed. And just like that, she was gone. Not Rachel. She'd vanished weeks ago. But the last remnant of the lie I'd been living with. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't angry. I wasn't broken. I was free. No closure. Just consequences. Just control. Just peace. Cold. Calculated. And finally mine. Subscribe to the channel